Welcome to the very first episode of Chef Ivan Chan MasterClass podcast, where we will share the story of some of the best we have to offer in Atlantic Canada and also keep everybody updated for what's happening in our food industry. It's my privilege to introduce our first guest, a former lawyer, become food influencers, and I believe have the most organic content and relatable material to share with her followers. Without further ado, he is Miss Sarah Birch. Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Chef Ivan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be the very first guest on your show. And that was such a wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. I don't feel I deserve it, but I'm happy that you
No,
think
you
those
do.
things
You
of me.
do. We've been talking about how I love your content is what you do every day, like how lifestyle and all those things that you're doing, and no, you definitely do deserve it. But hey, this is gonna be a simple, chatty, we relax little talk shows that we'll be doing and share with people. But every shows, I already asked all the guests to show me what they're drinking to start their relaxation. So Sarah, what do you have tonight?
Okay, so I have tonight a little tea. Every evening, I like to have an herbal tea to kind of wind down my day, and I'll show you what one it is. Okay, there was a last minute switch, so it's over there now.
Yeah,
But
there was a
anyways,
little.
Egyptian tea. I had like my background all set up and had to switch computers at the last minute. So it's an Egyptian tea, but when I'm not drinking a herbal tea, I really do enjoy wine. My husband and I have done a lot of travel based solely on wine. I love to eat, and I find that wine is an extension of it. But because I enjoy wine sort of mostly alongside food, in the
Okay.
evenings I prefer to have just like a nice tea to wind down,
All
and
right.
wine is more like a meal thing for me. Oh, but I did want to show you. Hold on, I'll just like, oh yeah, it's right here. Just wanted to show you. I brought up from the cellar one of the bottles that we picked up on our travels. This one is
Oh,
from
nice.
Barolo. So we've gone to various wine regions in the world, and this one is from Italy. We stayed at a beautiful little agriturismo there, which is like a cross between an Airbnb, but it's sponsored by the government in Italy, and you can stay on a vineyard, which is just such a cool experience. I'd highly recommend it.
All right, my turn.
Okay.
A lot of people know I'm a big advocate of Taste of Nova Scotia. So when I pick drinks, I try to do local. So tonight I have a can of Lockett Vineyard Petite Merlot there. It's a nice crispy apple, like grainy apple taste wine. So cheers to everybody who is watching, and thanks for joining us tonight. And to you, Sarah, thank you for
Well,
joining me tonight.
fun fact, I'm actually from Rosse, New Brunswick, and
Oh,
before Luckett's Vineyard existed, Pete Luckett, the owner of Luckett's Vineyard, lived in Rosse, New Brunswick, and had a little fruit stand just at the head of my neighborhood in Rosse. And he was Pete's Fruitique before he was, well, that was the original Pete's Fruitique. And he grew from a
okay.
fruit stand into, the big business, and now the vineyard. So I'm a fan too.
Yeah, I love wine too, James. Thanks for watching. And so like I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask my guests every week. So let's say so why don't you tell us, Sarah, and why did you a little bit of your story? Why did you become a food influencer from a lawyer? Like that's pretty much the theme of the night that we like to share your story and what why tell us.
Well, so life is never as linear as we think it's going to be. And I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was maybe 10. And I went to university, I got a business degree, and then I was just like on my way to becoming a lawyer, which I did become. But actually, just a few months before law school started, I had a very bad shoulder injury playing soccer. I played on the university soccer team, and in my very last game, of my very last year, I had a bad shoulder injury, and the injury haunted me for my entire law degree and into my articling. So I really just barely came out of my articling alive. It was a tough year with a lot of physical pain, and so it was hard to sit at a desk for long hours. So I kind of veered into I ended up teaching lawyers how to do legal research. That was my career for a while, and then landed in oil and gas. We lived in Alberta for 11 years. And then,
Well, travel.
yeah, we lived in Calgary. It was
Okay.
before the political climate was quite what it
Okay.
is now. We've been back in the Maritimes since 2017. So we loved it out there. We had a great time, just really good career opportunities. But my husband is from PEI, and I'm originally from New Brunswick. And I'm one of four kids, and our parents weren't getting any younger, and we wanted to spend time with our families. So we made the decision to come back to Halifax. At the time, our kids were 5
Good
and
choice.
17 months old. Yeah, yeah. So Halifax seemed like a good choice, sort of a halfway
Hmm.
point between the two places. And we've always loved Halifax. My sister lives here. My best friend lives here. I've got another couple of really good friends here as well. So yeah, we came back here, and when we came back, I thought it was time to take a little time off with the kids. I was always a working parent, and I just thought with the transition, they might want me to be around a bit more. And then I just sort of started posting more. I was trying to basically get my friends in Calgary to come visit the East Coast. So I just became I just started posting more about how fun it was to be here. And I also use it as a way to connect with the local community. Uh, you know, there are lots of things about social media that aren't good, and there's no denying that. But for me, it's been an incredible tool to really connect with people locally. I've met all kinds of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise.
Hmm.
And like food influencing is kind of a small part of what I do. I,
Storytelling.
I like, yeah, I would say I'm more of like a storyteller, more of an experience. Like I'm always looking for
Hmm.
like a good experience. And to me, food is an experience. Going to a restaurant is an experience.
That's why I love
It's
your content. It's all storytelling, and that's why I say it's more related and more than hey, I just gonna put up a bunch of pictures that I do every day. Like your stuff actually is telling people, like what you're doing, like your lifestyle and stuff like that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. And, I think we are so lucky to live in Halifax. It's a wonderful city, lots of great people, lots of great small businesses. And I love, it's funny, my daughter went on a field trip recently, and they went to Boston Pizza, and everyone in her class was shocked because she had never been to Boston Pizza before.
Oh.
They were like, what do you mean you've never been to Boston Pizza? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we would rather, if we can find a restaurant with a small business owner, that's usually where we would go. Like we don't eat at a lot of chain restaurants, with a few exceptions that we love, of course. But
Hmm.
yeah, she was just like, I don't know, we just eat at other places.
Well, let's go to a more serious topic, I'll say.
Sure.
um I know, like, you have a kid with a pretty serious allergies. I mean, I'm sure that play a major role, on your everyday lives. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, how is it having a child with allergy that affect your lifestyle? Like, you're a lawyer. You seem to people seem to think you want to have a pretty nice lifestyle, good food, and all that stuff. And then how does it affect you having a child that have?
I think it it affects me as a mother, but who it really affects is my daughter. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about allergies. I think a lot of people, they mean well, but they just don't appreciate quite how serious it is.
Could be, yeah.
And I found out about Amelia's allergies really young because she also had an anaphylactic dairy allergy when she was younger. Currently, her allergy is to peanuts, but what happened was at the time, people said, don't give your child peanuts until they're 2. So she was still under 2, so I hadn't given her peanuts, but I did give her dairy, and she had a reaction And I didn't know anything about allergies. And I gave her some Benadryl and put her to bed for the night because it was bedtime. And what I didn't know is you can have a secondary reaction.
Ouch.
And when I got her up in the morning, her face was swollen to the point that she could not open her eyes. And I, as a parent, had never been so,
Must be devastating to see that.
yeah, because all I could think of was I could have woken up to a corpse. Like if it had been her throat that had swollen over instead of her eyes, like her face, I wouldn't have even known until morning. So that was really scary for us. They got us into an allergist pretty quickly in Calgary, and then she was diagnosed with the peanut allergy. Now, listen, the dairy allergy is terrible, and I feel really sorry for anyone who has that one. She outgrew it, thank goodness. The
Good.
peanut allergy, I would say, is kind of the best one to have because there's so much peanut awareness, and
Yeah.
there are items that are specifically peanut safe. But one of the things that I do in my volunteering is I actually, it sounds like I'm changing the subject, but I'm not.
No, no, not at all.
I work on I went to UMB for both of my degrees, and I work on the alumni council, and I help choose some of the alumni awards. And one of the candidates this year was talking about the Sweet Caroline Foundation. And I was so excited to learn about this because it is actually a foundation that is from Rossay, my hometown. And I knew about Caroline, the girl who the foundation is named after, because my sister taught at her school. And she was a junior high student who she took one bite of something that she was allergic to, and she died. And it's a very tragic story, and one that, it's easy to think that those things don't happen, but they do. And she was rushed to the hospital. She knew that something was wrong, and she was 15 minutes from the hospital. And she did live another week, but she eventually died from that.
That's bring up another really serious question as a chef, and I don't take allergy lightly at all because it could be life threatening pretty easy,
Yeah.
and I mean if I mistake could happen, touch wood, I never have, but if you end up hurting anybody, you will never forget yourself for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and this is something that's so important. But on the other hand, just bring up another kind of a joke, but probably most chefs can relate it, and there is so much in today's community. It's being overused so much, and
Yes.
as a chef, it's kind of like a lot of time, like you see people come in and it's kind of like, oh well, you have allergy. Are you serious? Like
Yeah.
like
No, for
those it's
sure.
been really overused for somebody like yourself. It's really vital to actually go to operations that does care, and take the focus when you tell people, hey, you know what, my kids have allergy, and no, that's definitely one of the main thing that is overused, but on the other hand, it's very important for everybody to be aware of any food operations need to be really take care of that when somebody tell you such
I
things.
I found that a lot actually with when she had the dairy allergy. If
Hmm.
I said, she has an allergy to dairy, other parents would say, "Oh, my kid has an allergy to dairy too. They get really bad diarrhea." I'm like, no, we're not talking about the same thing here. Like my kid could actually die, and yours gets diarrhea. Like it's not like like I'm not saying that that's good either, but I'm just saying I can see as a chef how that would be difficult to decipher between person
Hmm.
A who might have a few stomach troubles and person B who could actually die. So it is, and the other challenge when it comes to, eating out for a person with allergy or just anything that's not like
Yeah.
straight from my own kitchen
Yeah.
is no one wants to guarantee anything. And of course,
Unfortunately, no one can. That's the
no, well,
whole thing.
that's the reality.
Yeah.
So it's always about it's. it's hard, but it's always about like common sense. Like when I go to a bakery, I'll say, okay, do you make peanut butter cookies here? Yes. Okay. Well, then I'm probably not going to feed your cookies to my kid because they could have been cross contaminated. But let's talk about your bread. Like your bread, is it made in a separate part? Is it using separate things? Do you have something in place to wipe down, like kind of a process in place to wipe things down between, baking the cookies and baking the bread? And so it's never about, is it guaranteed? Because it's so hard to guarantee.
It
There's a
is.
lot of just like using common sense. But again, everything is just a mitigation of risk, really, which is tricky when you're
It's
talking about
tricky.
your
Like
kid's life,
especially
right?
for somebody like myself, sometimes it's kind of like, ugh. Like if I mean, I always have been complaining about. Like I actually experienced one customer who actually brought in a card to actually. It's an official card of some kind that give to the server.
Oh,
And I
okay.
really think the government should encourage that to actually build a system in a certain way so the customer can come in. That's a government card that issues and say this person have allergy, rather than I pretty much tell the server like anyone say have allergies, is it allergies or it's just a
Yeah,
preference? That's pretty much
yeah,
what I tell server to ask. Is it preference or a real allergy? It really sucks to say that, but on the other hand, it's really not fair to the people who actually have it, right? And
yeah,
you can just tell server, hey, you know what? I prefer don't like certain things. It's a lifestyle, but it's all about lifestyle, and that's what we want to talk about tonight, and that's what we want to talk about next episode because I have Lauren comes in, which is a vegan healthy lifestyle that we will be discussing, and but it's all about the food industry and the lifestyle everybody experience, right? So no, like it's just something I really want to stress. Like people really overuse allergy these days, but on the other hand, there is people who actually care, who actually need the attentions about allergy.
yeah, yeah. It really is. It's hard. And my daughter, it's hard for her too because it also causes a lot of isolation.
It does.
I remember when she was little, I sent her to a birthday party, and I had written in advance to say,
Mm-hmm.
she has a peanut allergy. If the cake is not going to be peanut safe, please let me know, and I will send something else for her to have. And they said, no, no, it should be fine. And then we got there, and they changed their minds. They said, we don't know if it's peanut safe, So sometimes she ends up going to parties where she just watches everybody else have cake, and she just has to sit there and not eat it, which is what happened that day because I didn't send anything for her. And it's just like another time that you're kind of isolated as a kid. She otherwise has a good life. She's a pretty
It
little
it just
white
happened.
girl, like she's,
It just
thin
happened
and
to me
whatever.
Sunday night. I have two new server, and I pretty much tell them during one of the conversation, you guys remember there's one sauce in the restaurant have peanuts in it. If anyone try to order that flavor, make sure ask them if there's any peanut allergy involved. Like I am serious about that
Yeah,
kind of stuff. But
yeah.
it's just how I was trained, I guess. Like we were really, careful about that. But no, it must be difficult to trust the operations that you don't know and bring your kids there. Like it must be hard.
Yeah, but you just have to, hope for the best. You can't bubble wrap your kid. And as I say,
Yeah.
it's not like she has a life full of difficulties otherwise. I like to think that maybe, those experiences will help her be empathetic towards other people who have other
Hmm.
kinds of challenges in their lives because, she doesn't face a lot of adversity otherwise in her life. So this is a one way that she can hopefully use it to, just to show empathy towards others.
Hmm.
So,
Well, it brings up to the next questions. Like we're gonna have a little fun questions now. I'm gonna ask every guest. So, what is your favorite and most memorable dish you ever ate?
okay. So I'm not even going to tell you what the dish was because I don't remember. But as you know, for me, it's all about the experience.
Hmm.
And a few years ago, when we were in Alba, that's part of the reason I picked this wine from
Guys,
our cellar is.
I really thought she was gonna talk about one of my dishes, but it's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That would be too predictable. I actually thought of that, but I thought it'd be too predictable. But we went to this place that I was just talking about, the agriturismo, and the man who owned it suggested a little restaurant up the street, and we went there, and it was just this tiny little restaurant, and they took such care with every little detail, all these little amuse-bouche that they gave us, and the whole thing was just an incredible experience. We were sitting out on a patio, the moon was full, the sky was perfect, it was a warm night in Italy, and just the service and all the interesting foods just made it one of the most memorable meals
Nice.
that we've ever had, and we loved it. We went back to the same place 3 nights in a row because
Don't
we
blame you.
just, yeah, it was just too wonderful. And one of the nights, the man was like giving us wine to go with us, like, take this
Hmm.
back with you. And it was just wonderful. But
Sounds fun already. Yeah.
yeah, all the different flavors. I love
Hmm.
anything where the chef takes,
Hmm.
liberties with the flavors, and tries new things that I haven't tasted before. I love that.
I know you cook a lot of family meals and family dinner. Can you share us a little experience about cooking for a big family?
So, so we are really struggling right now because my kids both ate pretty much anything when they were little, and then they both have gone through these times where they, have decided they don't really like most things. So right now we do a lot of very easy meals. It's just the stage of life that we're in, and we try not to be discouraged. We always let the kids try a little bit of
Hmm.
everything, and then if they eat it, they eat it, and if they don't, well, we hope they learn to like more things. My son's favorite is sushi, which I do not make, but we all love sushi in this house. So if you take
Okay.
him to a sushi restaurant, he'll eat everything you give him. It's just like it doesn't even matter what you pass him. He says he loves sushi and he'll eat it. But at home he's a little bit more particular. He won't even eat chicken. I'm like, you'll eat raw fish, but you won't eat chicken. So it's just a stage.
Just to answer Irene's questions, this is not a cooking video, but this is pretty much a podcast. We'll be sharing stories and whatnot. And I'm actually planning on the same channel. If you see the channel on Facebook and on YouTube, there's some cooking videos already, but that is in the making. Just wanna answer your question
Great.
there, Irene. Sorry. Keep going, Sarah.
Yeah, so for me, I think for like most people with children, it's just a matter of introducing your kids to new things, putting it in front of them so they can try it if they, if they're feeling interested. If you set the example of trying different things and, experiencing lots of different foods, as I say, we don't take our kids to big box restaurants. They just come to the restaurants where we go, and then they get to try things. And at home, we stick to kind of a list of basics, but we're always expanding a little bit. But some of my kids' favorites that I make are like, just basic things like mini pizzas on naan breads, and like
I
I
know her
make a
kid
really
like my
good.
dumplings.
Oh, it loves your dumplings. Did you see the video? He said,
Yeah,
"These
I know.
dumplings are my life." He also loves creme brulee, which he insists on calling creme brulee.
Kid,
I
that's so
keep
funny.
telling him that's not the right pronunciation, but he does it every time.
So, okay, the next questions. If you want to pick a chef that you want to cook a meal with, who would that be and why?
Okay, again, I was going to pick you, but it seemed too
Nah, nah, nah,
obvious.
nah,
So I
nah.
have to pick someone else.
Of course.
So I would pick. It's not like a famous chef. It's actually Chef Gregory Burns. Do you know Chef Gregory Burns? He
I'm
is.
pretty sure I heard of the name, but I don't really know him.
Well, you should get to know him. He might even be. Maybe you could put him on your show. He's the chef at Geo restaurant
Okay, yeah,
at the Prince
okay.
George.
I I compete against him before.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, the things that he makes at the restaurant just never cease to disappoint. No, I said the wrong thing. To amaze. Sorry, Chef Birds, if you're watching. He really, just there's always something new on the menu. That menu rotates quite a bit, and so
Hmm.
we try to get in, every time it rotates. And I just find that there are always unique flavors. We go to other restaurants in between and always make our way back. And
You can't
he's
go
just,
wrong with Gio. I have to say,
yeah,
I follow his stuff, and yes, he always put up some amazing stuff. The dinner that he did with a good friend of mine, like Stephanie, before
oh,
she left, and
yes,
there was some amazing looking food. I wish I could be there, but
I
unfortunately,
know.
for my work, I just never can make it to one of those. But no, I that's definitely one of the chefs that pretty much put out some of the most amazing stuff.
Yeah, I was so sad to have missed that collaboration dinner because that was another restaurant that we often went to, the Hopscotch restaurant before
Hmm.
they became a pop up. Dana
She'll
and
be
I
back.
frequented
If
that.
if Stephanie's watching, she's told me she'll be back, and and
Okay,
and we
we'll be
we
there.
do have a date that when she come back, we will be doing a dinner together.
Oh,
So,
oh,
I think I
wow.
just spoil it. Oh, but oh, whatever. We
This
already
will be
been
the
talking about
announcement.
it. We already talked about it a few times, but like we were gonna do one in summer, and then now she decided to go and chase her dream, and we already talked about it that whenever she come back, we'll try to find time to do one.
Amazing, amazing. I was out of town for that one, and it was something I had to be out of town for. So that was why I wasn't there, because otherwise I definitely would have been at that collaboration. See, this is why my kid doesn't know where Boston Pizza is, because why would we be there when we could be
Why?
eating, Hopscotch or Geo or your restaurant? I mean, they're just
There's
great
no
places to
reason
eat
to.
here in
There's no
Halifax.
reason to. They are well trained. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what else you like to share with our audience today, Sarah? Anything else you want to talk about and stuff
So
like that before we wrap it up?
I know that I'm not like an actual, food creator. I'm not a chef. I live in the social media space, and otherwise I'm a lawyer, also a translator. I haven't mentioned that, but we won't get into that tonight. But one of the things I
Oh, how
wanted to
many
talk about,
language now?
just English, French, French, English.
Okay.
I can speak German, but my husband would tell you I'm not reliable, because once we ended up naked in a place where we were supposed to not be naked. So don't rely on my translation skills
Hmm.
for German, but only French to English, English to French. But I did kind of want to talk about just the role that eating together has played in my life,
Hmm.
because again, for me, it's all about the experience. And I just think, life has become really busy for a lot of people, and, maybe it's fast food, maybe it's just eating in the car. My family is still pretty young. My kids are 12 and 7. But we, at this point, have still managed to keep family dinner as part of our routine. And growing up, it was the same. And when I think back, even just to memories in my life, my grandfather on my dad's side died when I was 12, but I still have clear memories of him, at the head of the table, when we're all wearing our little Christmas crowns and he's carving the roast beef. And, there were so many laughs that happen at a table. People, I remember my aunt was always responsible for bringing the peas, like you just boil them and bring them.
Hmm.
So there are just little things around food that I think are just relationship builders. There's research that's been done to show that eating as a family, eating together, helps encourage positive food, kind of, I guess, eating habits, and it also promotes mental well-being. So
Hmm.
I just wanted to say, like, that even though I'm not a food person, I think that it's really important that we all, as much as we can, make the time. As I get into the teenage years with my daughter, sitting around at the table is really a great time for us to all kind of share and talk, and have some funny moments together and some silly moments together, as the day is unwinding. So I love the whole experience of eating. It's really more than just the food. It's, who made the food? What were they thinking when they made it? What does it taste like? How am I sharing that experience with someone else? Which is why Dana and I like to go to nice restaurants when we go out on dates. It's so that we can share the new experience of that meal. And so, yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to share. Unless you have any more questions for me, or
No, I think there's a lot of people doesn't understand how important are the influencer these days. What you guys are doing is really help the industry a lot because your lifestyle really affect your followers what they think about what is the lifestyle they choose. And that's why I say your content is great because as a lawyer yourself, like people would able to relate to somebody like yourself who is a professional. Like that's what kind of food you eat, what kind of restaurant you pick, and of course with the allergy of your child. A lot of people will say, hey, you know what? That's she will be the most careful type of people will be choosing the I would say the best type of restaurant. I mean, like you just mentioned some of the best name in the city, right? Like Burns, Stephanie, Geo, Hopscotch, and that's those are the best place that you can people who understand food will want to go to. That also shows that how much you care about the food that you feed your child or the place that you bring your child to. But no, I think it's like don't look at yourself as you're not a chef or anything, but you are doing a lot for the food industry. Thank you,
I
Sarah.
really appreciate that so much, because I do think, the influencer space is sort of a strange space where there, you know, a lot of people doing a lot of different things. Anyone can come in and say that they're an influencer. You don't have to have a lot of followers. You just have to have people who listen to you. And
Yep.
I fall into the category of what people call micro influencer, because I don't have a really large following, but I do have people who trust what I'm saying and listen to what I'm saying. And it's in part because, if I go somewhere and I have a good experience, I'll share it. But if I go somewhere, uh, and like part of it wasn't good and part of it was, I'm going to tell them that too. I'm going to say, like, this is, what I liked about it. This is another thing. Once a company sent me to watch a movie, and I was like, yeah, I'm taking my daughter, we're going to see this movie. And then we went to the movie, and afterwards I was like, I'm so sorry. And I was saying this in my stories, like, I was like, I don't actually recommend this movie. Like, I
Mhm.
thought it was too violent to be a child's movie.
Mhm.
And I thought, that company is never going to work with me again because I told people not to go see the movie. But you know what? They did. They worked with me again, and they said they just appreciated that I was honest about my opinion. And I think that's what people are looking for when they follow someone, right? Can they trust them? Are they being honest? Can it relate to them in some way? So, we've talked a lot tonight about some of the best restaurants in town. To me, there's a place for that, and there's also a
Mhm.
place for someone who is sharing, how to make meals on a budget,
Yep.
which is a completely different thing, right? It's another influencer entirely, and it's not going to be me because that's not my focus. My focus is not where to eat on a budget, how to make a meal on a budget. Mine is on what is going to be a nice experience when you want to have a nice experience. Like, if you have the budget for it, here's where you can go. And and that's what that is. But
It
I do
is.
hope, when I'm online, with my, Instagram is mostly where I am. I also have a blog, but when I do those things, I'm always thinking, how am I impacting, you know, how am I impacting what's happening? So, as I say, like I'd rather send someone to see you. I love you. Like I want them to try your food because it's so delicious. I know they're going to have a great experience. Like I do a little bit of style as well, but when I do style, it's always like, here's something that I've had for a long time that I can tailor, or here's something I bought secondhand. I try to, again, encourage people to make good choices that aren't going to be like fast fashion that ends up in a landfill. So I'm always thinking about, am I putting my best foot forward? I don't have any affiliate links on Amazon. There's nothing wrong with people who do have
Mm-hmm.
those. But again, if it's something that I can find in the local market, why would I send someone to Amazon when they could buy it from someone local in the
Yeah,
market?
most
So
definitely.
those are just all the things that I think, there are good and bad influencers, and I try really hard to stick to what I think a good influencer is as far as what aligns with my values.
That is why during the introduction, I describe your content as the most organic and the most relatable, because I was just telling one of my server the other day, like who worked for me for about three months, and she was like, "Oh, chef, your chef, your food is this and that and that." I said, "No, my food is not better than anybody." She looked at me and was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "I my food is just fit for the people who like my level of dining that I provide. There is never a fine definition about good or bad. It's whoever your audience is, and
That's a really good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not who is better than who. I mean, I obviously I do higher end food, but on the other hand, like there is people that want the other type of food that they can go to other place to enjoy. It's no such things, and but like I said, I enjoy your content just because you are not trying to, just hard selling anything. You showing people what you do every day, what you enjoy every day, and why you pick certain things. And it's a lifestyle. And back to that word is, to me, a Will's influencer should be really good at storytelling, and you are really good at that. And it's not, you look at your account and say how many followers. Yes, in a way, but it doesn't mean everything. Um,
Yeah, it does, and it costs me a lot. I turn down a lot of things because they
mm-hmm,
don't align with my values, and
mm-hmm,
some things I get turned down for because I don't have all the followers they want.
yeah,
But that is the that's the cost of, sticking to your values. But I think you have a good point about, especially with food. Society tries to make food moral, like this is a good food and this is a bad food, this is a better food, this is a worse food, and not everyone has the same opportunity, not everyone has the same taste buds.
yeah. There's
We
never a
do need
fine
to
line
get
about
away
that.
from that.
Yeah.
So I do agree that, but that being said, I do think you're a really good chef.
Thank
And I love
you.
what you make.
But anyway, to wrap up the first ever show, Sarah, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and really thank you to share with us your great story. Um, if you don't mind, I'm going to spend a few minutes to explain to everybody what we're planning on doing. I know you know about it, but and I'm gonna change the screen, and our next shows is gonna be a friend of mine, Chef Lauren Marshall from Will Fix Meats. She's a former Top Chef Canada um, contestant. I talked to Lauren today, and we'll be on same time next week. And I have a pretty amazing lineup coming. I mean, I have Chef Sharon, who started Studio East with Chef Ray Bear. I mean, Ray Bear is like a legend around here. So like how she changed her life from a top pastry chef from Toronto, Studio East. Now they're pretty much almost off grid. And Sharon will be with me the week after, and I'm going to have a really good friend of mine, Jamie McCauley, is going to be here, the Maverick Chef himself. I mean, um, water and bone, colder ramen, and now drift. And then because of the lifestyle changing, I mean, they are one of the best in the country right now. But Jamie already weed off from it just because he does it for family. I always say like every man should learn from Jamie because he gave up his biggest career opportunity just because he was trying to take care of his kid. And then we have Amy and we have Bob from we have our general manager from Subaru Mountain. I know Bob is watching. Like he is a really hardcore barbecue cooking advocate. So our summer series, I'm going to have Kayla Short and Kaylin here to tell everybody what's going on in Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada. And then I'm going to have Bob. And I talked to Chef Alan today. I will be doing at least 2 episodes with Chef Alan at his house. So we will be going to his house and doing a live interview and a live chatting with me and Chef Alan. I mean, most of you guys already seen me and him going at it at Softscape conventions. So it's a lot of exciting thing coming. And I'm actually in the planning on a lot of cooking videos too. A lot of people say, hey, Chef, cooking videos, cooking videos. Yes, I'm making it, but it's going to take a little time. So thanks again, Sarah. Thank you everybody for watching our very first episode. If any input, like any input or anything, put comments or message me and stuff like that. But thanks again. I'll see you guys next
Bye. Thanks so
Monday.
much.
Have a good night, everybody. I'll see
Take
you
care.
guys next week.
Bye.